Hello, today I'll be showing you how to make one of my favorite African soups, okra soup. West Africans, to be specific, Nigerians love okra soup. There are several ways to make this soup, but today I'll be showing you how to make the best alkaline vegan and vegan versions ever made. Let's get started. We're going to start by thoroughly washing our okra pods, and that's just as simple as running them under cold water and rubbing them between your palms. Over here I have about 50 medium-sized okra pods, and these will be enough for about 4 to 5 people. I'm going to break them down into smaller pieces, and I'm going to show you several methods to achieve that. Most people like to see large chunks of okra in their soup. If you're one of those people, do this. Cut about 5 okra pods into large pieces. Usually, the bottom of the okra gets scrapped, but you can save them and use them in other recipes. Just a quick reminder, this recipe is for those who, for one reason or the other, cannot eat meat or animal-based products. As I mentioned earlier, if you're one of those people who like to see large okra chunks in your soup, all you have to do is cut about 5 okra pods into smaller pieces like this. Moving on, the first method to break down your okra is by using the large holes on your grater. These holes will give you a very good consistency and it won't be as slimy. Now, if you want lots of slime like most Nigerians do, you can grate your okra using the smaller holes on your grater. This will give you a smoother consistency and lots of slime. Since I'm looking for a balance of a chunky consistency and some slime, I'm going to be using both the large and the small holes on my grater. Watch your fingers and stop grating when you get to the bottom of the pod. I'll be grating most of my okra pods using the larger hole. This is no easy task, but it's worth it, I promise. When you're done, scrape off the side of your grater using the back of your knife. So I saved about 6 okra pods and I'll be grating them using the smaller holes on my grater. As you can see, this is already creating lots of slime like I mentioned in the beginning. There you have it. You can clearly see the difference in the texture and the size of the grated okra pods. Now that I'm done, I'm going to set this aside in a bowl. And let me show you a different method to achieve this if you don't have a grater. If you don't have a grater, you can use a knife. All you have to do is chop off the top of the okra, then slice it lengthwise using a knife. Flip it over, slice it lengthwise again, then chop. When using this method, you need to be careful and watch your hands, because okra pods can be really slippery when cut open. You can chop it into smaller or larger sized pieces. It's totally up to you and how you like it. The last method is the easiest method and also my least favorite method. All you have to do is chop off the top and the bottom of your okra, then cut it into 2 halves. The next step is to process all of the okra parts in a food processor. Add all of your okra halves into a food processor. You can also use a blender. Pulse it into whatever size chunks you want and you're done. So this is what it looks like. Not my favorite, but it works. Now on to the next step. For this recipe, I'll be using a blended tomato and pepper sauce for my base. I'm only using 1 red bell pepper, and as usual, I only need the flesh of the red bell pepper. While you're at it, make sure you cut off the pith of the red bell pepper. Set your red bell pepper flesh aside and grab 2 plum tomatoes. Slice off the top of your tomatoes and slice them into 2 equal halves. Set them aside and grab your habanero pepper. Vegans, you can use Scotch bonnet pepper. For the habanero pepper, I'm using it whole with the seeds inside. To recap, I have 1 red bell pepper, 2 plum tomatoes, and 1 habanero pepper. Add everything to your food processor and process. This is what it looks like after processing. You can go smaller or chunkier, it's up to you. Let's move on to my favorite part, which is the meat replacement. Over here I have some oyster mushrooms and some king oyster mushrooms. You don't have to use this specific combination of mushrooms, you can use any mushrooms you have. Since we've already replaced the texture of meat using these mushrooms, we're going to be needing something with a very strong umami flavor, and that's portobello mushrooms. I'm not only using them for their flavor, but they're cheap and easy to find. Now, a really difficult mushroom to find is maitake mushrooms, also known as hen of the woods. These mushrooms have a deep earthy flavor, and they remind me of food cooked in a clay pot. As I mentioned earlier, they're really difficult to find and they're quite expensive. If you can't find them, leave them out. To prepare your mushrooms, place a large cast iron pan on a stove set to high heat. Place your oyster mushrooms in the pan and press down with something heavy. After a couple minutes of pressing, your mushrooms will start to release some liquid. Don't forget to protect your hands with some kitchen mitts. Once your mushrooms have produced enough liquid, pour out your liquid into a separate bowl. Since we need some plant-based stock, this will serve as your stock. Return your pan to the stove and press down again. We're going to cook the mushrooms for about 5 minutes or until they're brown. Once they're brown on one side, move them to the back of the pan. Alkaline vegans, you can add some grapeseed oil to the pan. Vegans, you can use any oil of your choice. Next, throw in your sliced king oyster mushrooms and make sure they're all touching the surface of the pan. Then press. If you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. After about 3 to 5 minutes, you can flip your king oyster mushroom slices over and press again. After 3 to 5 minutes, move your king oyster mushroom slices to the back of the pan to make space for the next mushroom. Next, add your maitake and your portobello mushrooms to the pan. Now you can add some sea salt to taste. Next, you can add 1 teaspoon of summer savory. Since most people don't add raw onions to okra soup, you can add some granulated onions. Give it a good mix and let it all cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. As you can see, these have come out looking really thick and meaty. Once your mushrooms are done, you can set them aside for now. To make your sauce, add some annatto oil to a pot set to medium-high heat. If you recall, in one of my older recipes, I mentioned that alkaline vegans can use annatto oil in place of palm oil. I'll link that recipe below. For vegans, instead of using annatto oil, you can go ahead and use the real thing, palm oil. If you're vegan and looking to keep it authentic, palm oil is the oil Nigerians use to cook okra soup. You can also leave it out, it's your choice. These right here are called locust beans. They're one of the stinkiest things on earth, but they pack a ton of flavor. If you're vegan, add these to your oil and let them fry for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now, whether you're going the alkaline vegan or vegan route, the next step is to add your tomato and pepper blend. Give it a good mix and let it cook for about 10 to 15 minutes or until reduced. Since vegans and alkaline vegans can't use crayfish, we're going to make our own. Over here, I have a 1/4 cup of dried mushrooms. You can use any mushrooms you have. Over here, I have about 3 to 5 sheets of roasted nori. Nori will give us the fishy taste and smell we need for our crayfish. Add your dried mushrooms to a coffee blender or a blender. Next, break up your nori sheets and add them to your blender. Give it a blend until it turns into a powder. There you go. Alkaline vegans, this can serve as your crayfish or your bouillon cubes. Remember, you saw this here first. It's been 15 minutes and our tomato sauce has been reduced. We're going to add some sea salt to taste. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of granulated onions. Add 3 tablespoons of ground coriander seeds, which are also known as cilantro seeds. Add 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, adjust to taste. Add 1 tablespoon of summer savory. You can also use winter savory. Now to keep things fresh, we can scrape off a few leaves off of some fresh thyme sprigs. Add about 3 to 5 tablespoons of your nori and mushroom powder. Add 1/3 cup of your mushroom stock. If you have more, even better. To make up for the lack of stock, I'll be adding 1.5 cups of water. Vegans, in addition to the nori and mushroom powder, you can add about 2 vegan bouillon cubes. This is for vegans only, not alkaline vegans. Give it a good mix, cover, and let it cook for about 5 minutes. Check out what it looks like after 5 minutes. Now we can go ahead and add our mushrooms. Add the mushrooms and give it a good mix. Once you're done mixing, you can add your grated fresh okra. By the way, the Nigerian pronunciation is okra. Now we're going to mix it all together to combine all of the goodness of the sauce and the freshness of the okra. Check out how lovely this looks. Now you can stop there and let it cook, but if you're anything like me, you want to push it further. Over here, I have about 2 cups of callaloo, which is also known as spinach in Africa and other parts of the world. I'm just going to roughly roll it up and chop it up. You can chop it up however you like it. I'm very curious to know what you call callaloo where you're from. Let me know in the comment section. This is optional, but if you want to, you can add 1 or 2 cups of callaloo to your okra. Give it a good mix and let it cook for 3 minutes. Here's a pro tip. If you want your okra to keep its slime, do not cover it. But if you don't care about the slime, go ahead and cover it. To add more umami flavor to this dish, Alkaline vegans can go ahead and add about 3 to 5 tablespoons of coconut aminos. Give it a good mix and you're done. Here you go. Okra soup can be eaten with any kind of fufu. Over here, I have quinoa fufu. If you want to learn how to make it, click on the link below or above. Okra is really good for diabetics and it's a nutritional powerhouse. Before I show you how to eat it, here's a closer look at what the soup looks like. Now go make it and stop wishing I was your daddy. To eat any kind of fufu, you first have to learn the art of molding it. Pinch off a portion you can easily swallow. Do not pinch off more than you can swallow. With your right hand, roll it in your palm to form a ball. After forming a ball, make a dimple with the tip of your thumb. Using this dimple as a spoon, scoop out some of your okra soup onto your fufu. When you're ready, your fufu should be loaded with soup, just like this. Some people eat fufu and okra soup with a fork. Don't do that unless you have to. It's just like eating pizza with chopsticks. You can get away with eating egusi and efori with a fork. That's okay. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you make this recipe, don't forget to tag me on Instagram. I'll see you all next week.